The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, July 29th, and today is National Lipstick Day. No
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm good. I'm celebrating.
Mm-hmm. Where the pigs at? Where the pigs
at? Well, Rico, since you mentioned that, it's also National Chicken Wing Day. As well as
what does it got to do with pigs?
As well as National Lasagna Day.
Yeah,
I do love lasagna.
I miss lasagna back in my cheese eating days, but it is what it is.
I bet. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. We do appreciate you and your time. But kicking it off today, that's right, is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the Quasimodo caretaker, the baby daddy specialist, the happy cabbage patch dancer when he's on the phone. And today he's rocking a white cap because apparently he's having a bad hair day again. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Ain't no bad hair days up in this mug, Jason Beck. Just so you know, ain't no bad hair days. I have my hat on today in support of our brothers and sisters across the pond representing us in the 2024 Summer Olympic Games, which officially started this past Friday in Paris, France. And if any of you have been tuned in, there's been a bunch of negative headlines tied to the games since its launch. There was a terror attack on the Parisian train system the day before the game started. And an offbeat opening ceremony performance that's been in the news heavily due to the singer's choice of wardrobe and actual performed content, which I will not be touching.
You don't want to touch his nuts?
No,
so he's not
this
touching
is my story, please.
No.
Please. Mute yourself. Thank you. And we will not be talking about that. We will at all today. I'm not touching that story at all. My story is about the Americans and what we're doing at the games. And, you know, because surely we've got plenty of problems back here stateside. But when it comes to kicking the rest of the world's ass, literally and athletically, we always seem to get our shit together. So, of course, you know, we had to start things off on a high note with none other than celebrity entrepreneur, legendary musical artist, and weed industry staple Snoop Dogg, who was given the honor of carrying the Olympic torch ahead of the opening ceremony. According to the Associated Press's reporting, Snoop was one of the final torch bearers of the Olympic flame, which was lit in April in Greece and slowly has journeyed towards Paris since. Snoop Dogg's leg was in Saint Denis, a suburb of Paris. In an interview earlier this week, the multi-hyphenate expressed gratitude towards the U.S. and France for the opportunity. It was a pretty dope comment that he had to make here. Here's what he had to say. I look at this as a prestigious honor and something I truly respect. I would never dreamed of something like this. I'm going to be on my best behavior. I'm going to be on my best athleticism, whatever that means from Snoop. I'll be able to breathe slow, to walk fast, and hold the torch with a smile on my face because I realize how prestigious this event is. Snoop Dogg is in Paris to help cover the games for NBC, part of the U.S. broadcaster's bet to boost ratings, infusing coverage with pop culture. As much as I love everything about this Snoop participating story, carrying the torch, and of course the litany of memes and Photoshop photos that came as a result afterwards on every single social media platform, I would be remiss without addressing the elephant in the room. Snoop Dogg is not an athlete. He's an international superstar, best known for being a stoner. WADA does not allow THC. In fact, a litany of athletes recently have been disqualified because of their use and because them testing positive to THC. All right. Most notably, last game, Sha'Carri Richardson had to miss the games because of a THC positive test that she popped right before going to the Tokyo Olympic Games. So I'm torn on this one. I love that Snoop is being highlighted here, and it also shines a positive light the way that he handled everything on our culture and our community. But the shit ain't federally legal. It's not even allowed at the games. So I don't really know, other than gaslighting the shit out of the nation, like what the point of putting Snoop out there was in the first place. But, you know, happy they did it. Either way, get your money, black man, and I'll just leave it all, the rest, to our team. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, and go USA.
Well, you know, I'll say this. Snoop Dogg missed a golden opportunity to be a true activist for the plant and for the freedom of the plant. Because what he should have done when he had that torch is to light a blunt with it, and that would have been probably the best thing that he could have done.
Then he would become an international criminal.
No, he wouldn't. They're not going to stop the ridiculous.
How would he not?
They would not prosecute Snoop for that. Stop the ridiculousness.
I'm pretty sure they would.
They would not have. Not a chance.
Would he have the same attorney as Wiz Khalifa?
Especially if it was THCA. Just saying.
This is the Olympics, man. This is Olympic Games. This is a whole different level.
He missed the opportunity to grandstand. He missed.
I think he did it. I think he did an excellent job representing America, representing our community across the board. Say what you want negative about the Olympics, not just this Olympic Games, about the organization, everything behind it, but the fact that we are representing our country on the World Games on this level. I think that he handled this shit very, very, very well, and he represented us in a positive note.
And he's there for a good reason. Have you ever heard Snoop Dogg do live coverage on anything? It's fucking amazing. I like to watch Snoop Dogg watching the animal videos and things like that. He's great. He's great. So
he's
people are definitely tuning in to watch his Olympic coverage.
Mm-hmm. Is he going to be doing play-by-play of some of the events?
He has been. It's been.
Great.
It's been fucking fantastic.
I watch TV never, so
interesting. I think it all started when he guest commentated on the Mike Tyson Roy Jones exhibition fight, and then they were like, "Yo, Snoop is kind of incredible this play-by-play announcing shit," and he's been doing just like exhibitions and a little bit here, a little bit there, and this motherfucker's on the Olympics now. So big ups to Snoop.
Interesting. I still feel like he missed a golden opportunity. He could have lit that blunt up. He would that would have been the blunt lit around the world, and like every stoner would have been cheering, and he would have been. He would have made.
Snoop's about that bag, though, man. He would have sacrificed that bag. I guarantee you, there's something in his contract saying that he cannot be seen lighting up or being high, like on camera, like at all. And I guarantee you, there is at least 6-figure check, most likely a 7-figure check tied to that.
This is the thing.
Too. Snoop don't fumble many
Snoop
bags.
Snoop has been in a ton of movies. Okay, so you know that he can act. Okay, so my point is even if he wasn't actually lighting up weed, he could have lit something up that was a blunt and told people that it was weed, and everybody would have believed it, even if it wasn't.
Maybe Willie Nelson could do that. Maybe one of these white celebrities could do that.
Stop the ridiculousness.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more that goes into
that. Stop that.
You gotta go there. There's a lot more risk to be taken if you are a black man doing shit like this.
You're trying to get a black man stomped out and arrested in France. That's crazy, Jason.
Yeah, like you can't do shit like that with a clear conscience and not think about those consequences, Jason.
He could have done it.
Yeah, he can. He gets to walk around every day not having to think about consequences like that. So it's, I mean, it's an educational moment, Jason, because if you don't have to like live through
I'm not buying the ridiculousness y'all are spewing out right now.
Because you don't shop at the same damn stores we shop at.
I shop at all the same stores. I shop at all the same stores, drive on all the same blocks, all of that ridiculousness.
We don't shop at Erewhon.
I don't shop at Erewhon either.
I shop at Erewhon. Their rosewater's fucking delicious.
Shit, I'm at 7-Eleven every day, baby. Okay. They sell liquor in my 7-Eleven too. Holla at Torrance. Big shout out.
I stop at 7-Eleven at least once a month. Minimum.
For Diet Coke for me, because you're a good friend.
No.
Diet Mountain Dew. You and
I buy my prepaid phone card there at 7-Eleven every month.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. What you gotta say about that?
Will you grab some Diet Coke next time that motherfuckers do?
Fuck no.
No, I'm just
You're fucking cut off from Diet Coke in my world.
It's okay. She'll load up on that Diet Mountain Dew, her and JD Vance.
Yeah, she can figure that out.
Jesus.
Yarrow, you got a comment on this?
You got any thoughts on this, Yarrow?
I don't think this was the time to do some sort of active extracurricular expression around the freedom of the plant. I think the Olympics are a sacred event that goes back thousands of years that in its best will unite countries around the notion of competition and human physical excellence. And I think it would have been tone deaf for him to do that. Snoop already has a big platform that he can use in the ways that he wants to advance those causes. I also don't think the Olympics is a Wiz Khalifa concert. They've been doing this a long time. They're not going to take to any shenanigans. They were probably very clear about what their expectation was. And Snoop is an entertainer first and foremost. And I think that staying in that lane and handling the assignment, I can't find a criticism in that from me.
The Olympics over the years have been a hotbed place for political grandstands over and over and over again throughout all the decades.
Athletes, not for compensated performers. There's a difference. Those athletes earn their right to be there. Snoop.
I heard they had snipers on the rooftops to take him out in case he lit a blunt.
Oh, God.
Too soon.
It was not the Secret Service.
You guys ain't about that life.
I can't criticize him.
I am. I will. All day. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Next, it's the Hyatt 9 News head honcho, known for smoking the best weed in the world wherever he is, for being the highest Republican in every room that he walks into. And he is the man who walks around guilt-free, knowing that he's living in a post-racial universe.
You guys are ridiculous.
Coming to the stage next, Jason Beck.
Mm-hmm. You guys are cute today. But let me tell you what's not cute. Okay, because California regulators revoke a marijuana testing lab license for, that's right, you guys, faking results. California regulators canceled the license of a marijuana testing lab that allegedly faked test results and tampered with equipment so it could offer passing test results to cannabis products potentially contaminated with dangerous pesticides and mold. That's right. Northridge-based California Cannabis Testing Labs was first discovered to have, in quotes, engaged in activity that poses a threat to public health by the State Department of Cannabis Control, the DCC, in February of 2022, according to documents obtained by MJ Biz Daily. The July 24th notice from the DCC Deputy Director Michael Chang lists 20 alleged violations uncovered at California Cannabis Testing Labs, better known as CCTL. The DCC's decision to cancel CCTL's license was first reported by Weed Week, according to the letter, and the DCC canceled the lab's provisional license and denied its application for an annual license. Alleged violations include, in quotes, deliberately faking bench sheet records for pesticides and microtoxins, resting samples to produce false and artificially inflated levels of THC, and manipulating lab equipment to be unable to detect solvents and pesticides identified as cancer risks by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. CCTL's laboratory director, who was not identified in the DCC's letter, also allegedly signed a certificate of analysis for a cannabis product that reportedly no detection of the pesticide chlorofenar. I maybe murdered that, chlorofenar or something like that. But a test conducted later by the state on samples collected from the same batch found nearly 600 times the amount of chlorofer allowed under the state law, according to the DCC. CCTL's owners, listed as Roger Shavuka, Krishna Shavuka, and Melissa Mabe, did not immediately return an MJ Biz email seeking comment, and calls to the phone number listed on the lab's website went to a voicemail that was full. Well, the lab plans to fight back because under state law, CCTL can request a hearing to contest the findings. DCC spokesperson David Hafner told MJ Biz Daily that CCTL has requested an ex parte hearing regarding the status of their license. The agency plans to oppose the ex parte application and does not have any additional comment at this time, Hafner said in a emailed statement. And CCTL's license, which state records indicate was first issued back in July of 2019, was listed as canceled in a state database on Friday. And lab-tested product later recalled it's not immediately clear how many products tested by CCTL were later sold to California customers, and the letter notes 3 recalls in March and May and June of this year for cannabis products the lab had passed that were later found to be tainted with the mold Aspergillus. Mandatory recalls issued July 17th for vaporizer cartridges sold beginning last fall cited a presence of the pesticide chlorofenar, and while the July recall notices do not identify any involved labs, the DCC's letter to the owners of the CCTL note that the department initiated a commercial cannabis batch recall on July 17th of 2024 due to the presence of the pesticide chlorinifer, which the applicant inaccurately reported on the COA as non-detected. Well, and the recalls and subsequent license cancellation came at a time when the industry is facing increased concern over testing, including allegations of THC potency inflation and deliberate manipulation of test results across the industry. In a quote, they say, "We've been saying this forever," said Josh Swider, the co-founder and CEO of Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs based in the San Diego area. The DCC is doing something, he added. They're not going to allow this shit to go on anymore. And a list of the violations that they are claiming and other violations of state law alleged in Chang's letter include, you guys, that's right, sampling from over 3,000 vaporizer cartridges when the batch size listed on a COA was 9,500 units, showing a repeated pattern of non-compliant sampling for regulatory compliance products, and running tests for fungicide pantherabinazine, I'm sorry, I don't know that word, which the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is moving to ban in such a way that it would not exceed a state action limit. Also, failing to report accurate total THC on at least 10 COAs, showing a repeated pattern of reporting inaccurate and inflated cannabinoid results. I think every lab's guilty of that, but whatever. Retesting samples until analysis produced the desired results, and posting sticky notes in a cannabinoid testing area instructing lab staff to refrain from following normal procedure. Not following standard procedures for pesticide testing when the laboratory director was aware of the deviations, along with falsifying COAs by reporting inaccurate results from lab data. And this is the first known instance of a California testing lab losing its license for such conduct, according to state records. Well, first off, I want to push back on that because I think there was one other lab that lost their license for falsifying records, and that was Cannabis, and that was a number of years ago. But nonetheless, I'm going to digress and see what you guys have to say. And am I wrong about this? But
let me jump in on this. I don't think losing your license is a satisfactory outcome. If you're poisoning people, it's fucking criminal. Hard stop. Hard stop. Well, I'm sucking on those cartridges, and I trust the system to keep me safe. And if it can't, somebody needs to face the consequences and hear the music.
Fair enough. I mean, you are a hardware judge, Yarrow.
You walked into that one.
Yeah. The king is sucking on hardware.
How many carts did you smoke for the cup this year?
I had to check my driver's license to remember my name.
Oh wow.
Oh boy. Oh.
No, it was. There was north of 70 submissions for the Emerald Cup. There was north of 70 submissions for the State Fair. There was less than 10% overlap in those contestant submissions, those SKUs. And if somebody is falsifying something and poisoning people, I don't see that. I see this as the cannabis equivalent of 3 Mile Island or of an industrial company just pouring toxic sludge into a salmon stream. Why should these people only lose their license? The notion that there would only be civil liability for something that could injure human beings, including myself, I'd just rather take them behind the barn.
Well, Yarrow, to your point, I think that there would be a separate class action lawsuit by individuals that purchased these carts being able to sue the lab for those falsifications. I don't think that would actually happen through the state.
But the problem with the class action lawsuit is you have to prove damages, and no one's going to be able to take the time or money to go to some respiration specialist and show the damage that might occur 5 years from now is already occurring. And so it's a cough action lawsuit, but I think that somebody should be held criminally accountable for poisoning people on purpose. That's criminal. That's not civil.
Fair enough.
The other problem with suing a lab that's lost its license is what money are you going to recoup?
Yeah, what do you go after?
Well, I wonder if you could go after those individuals personally for the personal liability.
I would.
Yeah. They're going to file bankruptcy, and you're not going to get. I mean, like it's tough to collect on civil matters, Jason.
Okay, all right.
Well, don't run into me in a dark alley.
Yara's going to beat your ass. I think that's better. That's little hill justice. I think that's fair. I mean, you know, you're trusted to be the voice of reason and the consumer. Like, that's why we're not just going and buying shit from whomever on whatever block, because now we're supposed to go in and find something that's safe and tested and pass all this stuff. I think that I want to see what brands, and I think that every COA that came out of that facility needs to be rechecked, which is going to be a tremendous pain in the ass for operators. But like, as you know, a retail store, how the fuck can you look your customer in the face and say, yes, this is safe? Because we don't know that now.
Yeah, but at the same time, how many of these brands were complicit with CCTL and what they were doing? That's
why I'm saying everything needs to be retested. Every batch that touched that facility that was sent in by operators needs to be retested, because those test results simply just aren't realistic. We can't trust them.
I wish we had a lawyer on, because I'm wondering too if some of these products, if customers that purchase these brands products could actually go after the brand for releasing this product also.
I don't think
I'm not a lawyer, but sometimes I role play as one, and I think that could happen.
I'm not a lawyer, and sometimes I co-play as one. But the reason why I don't think that can happen is these brands are counting on labs to keep their customers safe by saying, "Here's what we ran through. What does it say? Give us the results." And so I don't think a brand is responsible for getting dirty biomass if they're trusting that the system is going to prevent their company from putting that into the supply chain.
Bro,
I don't know. There were a lot of times that they said that they were pushing back on the brands because the brands were saying, hey, look the other way on this. Hey, look the other way on that. I mean, let's be honest, not all of these operators have the same level of scruples, right? So some of these guys are questionable things and are happy to pass that through because they don't want that loss because they just hot filled $10,000 worth of equipment, hardware. You know what I mean? They'd rather have you suck on it.
They hot
and just know
that car.
It's not going to come out for 6 months, and it's probably all sold off the shelf by then.
So isn't the lab testing? Isn't the lab testing license and like maintaining like all that shit? Isn't it more expensive than any of the others? Right? It's the most expensive, the most cost intensive out of everything, right? For everything, the equipment.
It's barrier to entry with all the costs associated with lab testing.
Yeah, cats like this company and whoever else is doing all this dirt and everything. I hope it was worth it, and I hope they actually made all of their money like up front because chickens are coming to roost. Motherfuckers are deep shit now. So, and I only see this happening on a much broader level, and they're making some real big examples of the first movers on this too.
Oh, look at
Feel
that.
better to just smoke flower, yo.
Look at that. We got Nick Bradley back in the chat, and he says brands lab shop regularly.
You do?
And we all know that.
Yarrow.
That's facts.
He also said Yarrow.
And I get to choose what I read.
I do it, Jason. But that's okay.
Well, call my name out, Jason. Call my name out to read the next article. I mean,
say my name.
Exactly.
So
around me, sucking on a vapey.
Yeah. Speaking of Yarrow, yes,
Put it in his mouth.
he's
puff a cloud out.
he's been judging.
Yeah.
He's been judging hardware. He's been standing tall
I sell
on telephone
software.
books. So then that
Yarrow
way,
tests hardware.
yeah, that way he doesn't have such a hard time in the hardware department reaching the top shelf. That's right, is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Yeah, extra venting.
All right. Good morning. High at 9 News viewers. Monday, July 29th, almost rounding into 9:30 a.m. Pacific PST. And my article is about a topic that I knew would continue to give us things to cover. Massachusetts and their cannabis program. So without further ado, State Treasurer racks up big legal bills in effort to remove cannabis chair. Massachusetts State Treasurer has paid a private law firm hundreds of thousands of dollars as part of her months-long effort to suspend and potentially remove the chair of the state's embattled Cannabis Control Commission, public record shows. According to state payroll records, the law firm Morgan, Lewis & Brockis has billed Treasurer Deb Goldberg's office about $616,000 for representation in her proceeding against Commissioner Chair Shannon O'Brien. So Shannon O'Brien, you've already cost the taxpayers over $500,000 just to get you out. Goldberg suspended O'Brien in September for allegedly making racially insensitive remarks, mistreating an employee, and disparaging the commission's executive director while he was on a paternal leave. O'Brien denies any wrongdoing and went to court to challenge the treasurer's ability to remove her. She's accused Goldberg of acting as judge, jury, and executioner in the matter. You mean just like private enterprise where you have at-will employment? Okay. O'Brien continues to collect her $196,000 salary while she is suspending, adding to an increasingly costly ordeal for Massachusetts taxpayers as the two former allies battle behind closed doors and the commission grapples with broader dysfunctional leadership. Representative Michael Soder, a Bellingham Republican who sits on the legislature's Joint Committee on Cannabis Policy, says he believes the treasurer is wasting money trying to fire O'Brien. If it was so evident what she did, why the hell are you spending $700,000? He said in an interview. Soder said Goldberg should reinstate O'Brien to her role atop the commission because, quite frankly, we need some adults in the room. State Inspector General Jeffrey Shapiro is urging the legislature to appoint a receiver to oversee the commission and the $7 billion marijuana industry it regulates, calling the agency rudderless. O'Brien is one of several high-level suspensions at the commission in the last year as the agency reckons with persistent allegations of workplace bullying, mismanagement, toxic environment, yada, yada, yada. The treasurer held 4 closed-door hearings where O'Brien presented evidence to defend herself. It's been over a month since the final meeting. Goldberg spokesman Andrew Napolitano in a statement said the treasurer is taking the necessary time to review all the information while the person is still on state salary of $200,000 to make an informed decision. The Massachusetts Fiscal Alliance, a conservative state government watchdog group, had harsh words for both sides of the fight. With O'Brien lacking the confidence of those around her, unable to lead her organization and unwilling to step down, it doesn't seem like there's much choice for the state other than to make these legal expenditures, spokesperson Paul Diego Craney said. At the same time, Craney criticized Goldberg for having appointed O'Brien, a former state treasurer. That decision has already cost the taxpayers over $800,000 in wasted spending, and that figure is likely to top the $1 million mark before this saga finishes, he said. Joe Barrelane, a spokesman for O'Brien, said it's common for public employees to continue being paid while suspended, and it should be noted that Shannon O'Brien has had to pay her own legal bills out of pocket to defend her reputation. Chair O'Brien was attempting to fix the management problem and dysfunction at the agency recently highlighted by the state inspector general when she was suspended by the treasurer for no justifiable reason, he said in a statement. In a letter to state lawmaker Shapiro, the inspector general said the state law that establishes the Cannabis Commission did not clearly define the authority of the chair and executive director, creating the conditions that led to the current power struggle. The remaining commissioners earlier this month stripped the acting executive director of her leadership duties and released a draft charter aimed at better defining the agency's leadership roles. That document is the result of 2 years of private mediation and executive sessions. The lengthy process has been yet another expense for taxpayers, according to Shapiro, to the tune of $160,000. So now we've got $160,000 for that 2-year exercise, $616,000 in legal fees to state just to get this person out of the role that other people don't want them in. And they're getting paid $200,000 a year while they sit on the sideline picking their nose and complaining about no longer having their job. Whew. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to know what everybody else thinks.
I had to zoom in on that picture to make sure that wasn't Steven Tyler. I was looking at the screen on the playback. And I was I don't know why they chose that picture of him, but okay.
That's funny. I mean, I think this is another reason why this Massachusetts whole program needs to go into receivership.
Pathetic.
This is crazy. I mean, this is
government's the only job where you can do a terrible job and still have a job.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, a weatherman or weatherwoman is the one job where you can be wrong every single day and still keep your job. So I think we have to include that in there.
That's fair. Also fair. I mean, yeah, they've obviously grossly mismanaged the whole department, and I think receivership is absolutely appropriate. And the amount of money that was spent to try to save her ass is one of those excellent shining examples of the mismanagement and the financial malfeasance in their department.
And I feel really bad for the Massachusetts taxpayers because they've already been hosed for this $500,000. They're going to be hosed for more. And if the agency goes into receivership, the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for all of that. And that's just going to be a crazy exorbitant fee that they didn't really need to absorb.
No, it's supposed to be a revenue-producing exercise to regulate cannabis.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So crazy, man. It's just a plant.
It is just a plant. You're so right, Mathieu St. Germain. So
now
I think they should treat it completely differently, personally, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's an ulcer-inducing exercise in the dysfunction of government.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, if you didn't need cannabis before this, what would you use after this to soothe your frustration at the way in which government has fumbled yet another opportunity?
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And we do want to send a special shout out. Jenny Beth Dills' mom is watching, and so we do want to say hello to her and thank you for tuning in.
And my brother-in-law, Sir Keith, my mommy and my brother-in-law.
Amazing. Love that. Well, we're going to keep this rolling. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
right, I'm gonna take this to the car.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. Two quick things. We will be releasing this week a series of videos in preparation for the Emerald Cup, which is a series of me and a few others doing our actual judging for the flower competition. We made a few ones, the outdoor judging. We got Smoky Vanilla in there. We have John Capetta from High Times when we do the personal use judging. And myself and Mario Sherbinsky, we did videos of judging the entire indoor competition. And so we will be releasing those in the coming weeks in anticipation of this year's 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition. And also, too, thank you all, because we have now hit over 4,000 subscribers, and we are climbing up to 10,000. And once we get to 10,000, we will be doing a giveaway. We'll be giving away a half a pound of cannabis plus much, much more. And we will be giving this to 8 different people. You will have to come to California and pick up your product through one of the any 28 licensed Catalyst retail stores throughout the state of California. And so make sure that you tell your friends, make sure they subscribe, because if you didn't tell them about it, they're not going to be obligated to smoke any of this good trees with you.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're going to smoke, because we're going to get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Oh, man, coming up next, that's right, it is the immortal Count himself, the Transylvanian troll, Mr. Mathieu St. Germain, who is part of the Brotherhood of Eternal Merry Men and Hogwarts THC design. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Mathieu St. Germain.
Thanks, brother Jason.
Yes,
Sounds
sir.
like you got some really good weed there today by your
Yeah,
intro,
bro, only the best weed in the world, as you know.
Wow.
I've got a great story coming out of Benzinga discussing if psychedelic dispensaries are the next big business boom. As we all know that the cannabis dispensaries have been doing well. Right smack in the middle of a psychedelic revolution, and there is serious interest in psychedelics, most especially for its ability to treat several major conditions that are resistant to conventional medications. Interest is only growing, and so is the list of conditions that psychedelics may be able to treat. We can't deny that we need to have more conversations, studies about these molecules. We also need to discuss how it's going to be regulated in a retail market, especially one where cannabis is already legal and the marketplace is thriving. Right, Benz? Magic mushrooms, most popular and accessible of all psychedelics, are already quite accessible in much of North America. Mushrooms can be purchased raw or dried, are widely consumed in processed form, made into chocolates, capsules, tea, gummies, etc. Other common psychedelics include LSD, ketamine, MDMA, and peyote. Some are more challenging to access than others. That said, how do we decide who gets to sell them and where? Several cannabis dispensaries and head shops are also selling psychedelics. You have to keep in mind that the legalization laws for these classes of drugs differ. They can also be easily purchased online or in the black market. The ideal scenario would be to have specialized psychedelic medicine dispensaries where individuals can obtain their hallucinogenic medication of choice. Members and patients will also need to have doctors on board who can get them prescriptions in the first place. I hear a scam. Much like how cannabis legalization spread throughout North America, resulting in the growth of thousands of dispensaries and massive weed businesses, conglomerates alongside it, most started at a kitchen table. A few things need to happen first. Of course, psychedelics must be decriminalized and or legalized. Denver became the very first city in the United States to do so, followed by Colorado. While Oregon made strides as the first state to ever legalize psilocybin in 2020. Given the popularity of these substances today, we'll likely see an even greater demand to legalize these drugs in the near future, which will be critical for spreading public acceptance and thus dispensary establishment. As of late, most policy reforms have been too focused on expanding legal access as well as research. However, we also need to work on the very specific policy changes so that we can mitigate negative events such as backlash in case the market is exposed to several major negative occurrences related to psychedelics. That's why we must also have guidance and support from the business community. The economy will benefit from the legalization of psychedelics as well as the growth of dispensaries. According to RAND, a major think tank that's usually busy advocating for the U.S. to bomb huts of some innocent people so we can steal their resources, in a published report last year entitled How to Regulate Psychedelics, Forestall the Revolution. It's one of the first and biggest research papers ever written to delve deeper into how a real psychedelic market would look like. The federal government currently has multiple options when it comes to the supply of psychedelics. It does not have unlimited time, says the report. Now is the time for U.S. federal policymakers to decide whether they want psilocybin and other psychedelic substances, following the footsteps of the for-profit cannabis model, the report. The report also points out that people consume psychedelics and cannabis in different ways. For this reason, we shouldn't be comparing the decrim of cannabis out of psychedelics. One of the two ways they differ is consumption. Most people don't consume the psychedelics as often or as much as cannabis. A lot of people smoke cannabis daily. People microdose nearly daily, but heavy psychedelic usage just can't happen daily. You're going to lose your job. Only hope that government officials aren't going to put out the fires of psychedelics. It's an extremely exciting field medically and scientifically because the world needs new options for treating different diseases, which psychedelics have been shown to be successful in treating. You should also remember that psychedelics is not a one-size-fits-all solution. While they do work very well for some people, some have little benefit. That's why it's important to reinstate the importance of clinical trials that require several rounds of treatment, that along with new laws will help regulate psychedelics while improving access and decreasing costs are all sorely needed by the general public right now. It's a very interesting article, and while I really believe wholeheartedly in the power of psychedelics, the thought of letting the business community continue to lead frightens me, as you can see currently at the Hoovervilles being constructed, the lack of medical insurance for Americans, homelessness, the drug addiction. The business community hasn't really been leading our society much in any way, shape, or form. I'm really interested to hear from Jason and Jenny here. What do you guys think about how we should approach the oncoming decriminalization and legalization of psychedelics? I'm really curious, and I find myself with more questions than answers in this moment. Anyway, guys.
I'll tell you right now, get the money while it's still illegal. Otherwise, by the time it goes legal, you're not going to make any money.
I mean, I think I have the same feeling that I did with cannabis, right? I don't think it's just the business people that are going to fuck it up. There's a lot of like grifters who are willing to come in and play quasi fucking experts, and you know, when you get in on the ground floor of something like this, yeah, there's a tremendous potential to make money. And I think that the wrong people, once again, just like when you saw all the people who failed in cannabis go to Oklahoma or go to whatever, or go to CA, the people who failed have already been like, oh, we got a mycology company now, we're making, like, bro, you're making goo in somebody's basement, like, calm down, you're not like doing anything crazy, like. So I don't want to see this happen, but it's going to, and so that's really unfortunate. So just be very aware. This is like really awesome medicine that you can use to, like, I did so much. It was so helpful to me when I was dealing with my PTSD and dealing really heavily with the high anxiety as a result of that. And to see that in the wrong hands, the hands of people, like, one, you can also hurt someone. Like, you don't want to give someone something that's gonna negatively impact them. So I hope that the right people come together and say absolutely not, and kind of keep the bad actors at bay as much as we can.
I mean, Mathieu St. Germain, you were just at Champs last week. How many vendors did you see that had booths selling these types of products?
Oh, bro, it was ridiculous, Jason. It was Champs was awash in Amanita muscaria products, which I have not tried currently, but I've heard some mixed reviews. Then we had the people who were claiming they had cubensis mushrooms that they had bred all of the psilocybin and psilocin out of.
I love those people. I love them.
Just ridiculous, yeah. And for me, the whole thing is it's a very tough subject. I would say I would really be advocating for folks, again, the neighbor model, folks who are growing on smaller levels, and people who are really interested in getting psychedelics to their friends, neighbors, and the public, is out focusing on profits first, focusing more on the health and healing of humans in our communities. Again, St. Germain, I'm a psychedelic communist. I'm a crazy revolutionary. I'm looking forward to a world where fiat currency has been maintained and restrained and isn't used to take advantage of all of us and ensure class stratification that the haves have and the have-nots ever get any. And so for me, psychedelics have been a way to open myself to that. Maybe it's the amount of reading I'm doing. Maybe it's what's wrong with my brain. But that's what I'd really like to see is more health, more caring in this, and really not shunting them into the medical model where it's going to take tens of thousands of dollars to access these products. And not the MSO model where people are just rampantly grasping for profits over health and help. And I got to jump up real quick because something is going on the bike trail behind my house. It sounds like they're shredding all the trees to death, and I can't really hear what's going on. So you guys take over 1 second while I slam my door closed.
No worries. You do your thing, Mathieu St. Germain. But I have a feeling.
Oh, I thought he was about to go defend the forest like Fern Gully. He's like, "Fuck no, you're not cutting my trees down."
Kind of.
Jesus,
like
they were coming to get me, you guys. I think the FBI sent the tree trimmer after me to keep my story down.
They're probably just planting a bunch of woodpeckers in your trees that are all just cameras.
No, I just want to say. I would like everybody, I would really challenge and invite everyone to really meditate on something for yourselves today. Think about how it can be different, our system, our society, the way that we interface with each other, and work towards it a little bit. I know everybody wants to default into cynicism and give up and just say, oh, screw it, the world's screwed, and it's always been screwed, it's always going to be screwed. But I've said this before, and I will say it again. There was a time in Europe where the divine right of kings was unquestionable, had always existed, and would never change. And then in a series of brief moments, really all of the kingships, save, the King of England, who's powerless, and a couple other figurehead kings were completely extinguished, and the divine right of kings is no longer recognized. And we can always evolve to new ways of government, new thought forms, and new ways to run our society. And so I would challenge everybody, not just say, oh, that's the way it's been and throw your hands up and keep it that way, but to find ways to move towards new ways of relating and have faith that we can do this together. And I think that's a big message of psychedelics, especially high doses of mushrooms if you choose to do them. Tune you into nature, and they'll tune you into the fact that there's a lot of models that we have not really even tried to or express. That being said, I think that decriminalization, legalization, and the ability to get psychedelics to more people can be helping and healing, provided we, do it right with the right guide star. What do you think, Jay?
I was just going to say that I love models too.
Thank you for that, Jenny.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you said a lot right there, Mathieu St. Germain. You got a lot off your chest, and you saved the trees, so you're technically the Lorax too. And I think we're gonna roll into our final commercial. We're gonna be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
yes, and we are back, and we are going to roll, that's right, into the voice of the South, Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis Consulting, as well as Justice Served, a 501c3, working on criminal justice reforms and making the world a better place. That's right, isn't another than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
You guys. Well, somebody's in big fucking trouble. A legal storm is coming for California's biggest weed brand, Steezy. And that is how you pronounce it. The three I's are Steezy. Steezy is probably the most dominant name in California cannabis. It has the state's largest chain of retail stores with 34 locations. Its house brand is a powerhouse in pot shops across the state. And it's been the #1 cannabis-based company in California, according to cannabis data from the firm Headset. The brand has become synonymous with the young, fashionable cannabis users who power a huge portion of sales in the marijuana industry. And that's true. You'd be hard-pressed to walk into a dispensary and not find Steezy vapes. But a legal storm has been brewing for years behind these rosy sales figures. Steezy faced an onslaught of lawsuits and allegations attacking nearly every side of its business. It's been accused of defrauding customers by overstating the THC content on its pre-rolled joint, of illegally selling cannabis across state lines to Illinois and my home state of Georgia, and of selling cannabis plants that contain a dangerous pesticide. The company has also been accused of running a vast operation to illegally divert cannabis into illegal cannabis stores across California. Christina Alfred, a spokesperson for Steezy, said in an emailed statement to SF Gate that the company has been targeted primarily because it's so successful. Steezy is one of the best-known companies in the industry, but that also makes us an easy target in some people's minds for lawsuits. We're proud of our operation and think that the public thinks of cannabis, they think of us, Alfred said. Attorney SF Gate spoke with agreed that the company does attract more scrutiny because of its size, but that the turbulence behind the powerhouse brand could also doom it. Steezy was founded in Los Angeles in 2017 by James Kim and Tony Wang, just as California was transitioning from unregulated medical cannabis market to the legal recreational industry. Kim told Forbes in 2019 that the brand's name is a play on the word steez, a style and ease. It was designed to reflect the laid-back vibe of the Southern California cannabis consumers. Steezy quickly became a dominant force in every step of the supply chain, from growing its own cannabis to creating incredibly popular cannabis products in retail stores. Steezy appeared to be one of the few legal California brands that could thrive in the recreational market, but over the past year, a darker picture emerged with allegations connecting the company to California's massive illicit market. By the end of 2023, Steezy was facing allegations of illegal sales from multiple sources. In December, the Los Angeles Times published an investigation that tied Wang to a vast operation to illegally sell cannabis, including owning 9 different buildings that were used to conduct illegal sales. Lawyers who worked with Wang also represented the individuals charged with selling cannabis at his buildings. Separately, the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office accused Wang and 2 other individuals of using a shell company to hide their involvement and shirk responsibility tied to the illegal cannabis sales at one Los Angeles property. Wang and his co-defendants were ordered to pay $1 million in civil penalties, according to an October news release from the city. A lawsuit filed by John Abador, a former CEO at Steezy's parent company, further elaborated on these allegations, accusing the brand of running a sprawling criminal enterprise with 18 different illegal shops. Abador has since voluntarily dismissed the lawsuit, and his attorney did not respond to an SF Gate request for comment. Alfred said in an email to SF Gate that the lawsuit was settled but declined to elaborate further, citing a confidential settlement. According to the Times, a spokesperson for Wang denied in December that he knew of the illegal sales occurring at his properties, and Steezy sent the Times a cease and desist letter that threatened the company would sue the newspaper for defamation if it printed the story. A lawsuit doesn't appear to have been filed. The SF Gate's ballsy for publishing the story, then. Steezy has strongly denied these allegations. Alfred, the spokesperson for Steezy, told SF Gate this week that Wang did not directly engage in the illegal sales, describing him as a landlord to a tenant accused of operating an illicit dispensary, and said he continues to work with the company despite the legal troubles. Mr. Wang was not accused of running the illegal store. As a co-founder of the company, Mr. Wang advises the company on certain matters periodically, Alfred said. The web of allegations was controversial within California's cannabis business community. Jared Kelo, the president of the United Cannabis Business Association, a trade group of 186 California pot retailers, said Steezy appeared to be attacking the foundations of the legal market. They're playing both sides of the market, making money off the illicit one, and then they can lower the prices in the legal market because they're supported by the illegal sales. Kilo said 67 of the association's members have pulled Steezy's products from their shelf in protest of the company. But he also said the allegations appeared to have little effect on the broader market. I haven't seen a big dip in their revenue due to all of this, so it seems like they've stabilized. So far, Steezy has avoided any serious public repercussions following these allegations. Now that Abador's lawsuit has been dismissed and Wang fully paid the fine in Los Angeles, the California Department of Cannabis Control, which is charged with enforcing the state's pot laws and could revoke Steezy's licensing, has so far stayed silent and declined to comment on the matter in a request SF-Gate sent this week. Kilo said his membership is angry that the DCC has refused to publicly confirm that it is actively investigating the serious allegations against the company. Ongoing investigations are something you can say out loud, and as a regulator, you might want to do that to deter bad behavior, Kilo said. The DCC has failed miserably to regulate this industry in a public way and to deter bad behavior. So this goes on and on and on into the class action lawsuits, the Marin County teenager, things like that. You guys can read that at our website. I don't want to take 50 million years, and this is just kind of crazy. But it's a very long story. It's very interesting, and I think it's an interesting time in our industry that we're looking at this. And $1 million is a huge fine to pay, and so if they paid it, that's. I just want to hear your guys' opinion.
They paid $1 million fine.
$1 million.
Wow. That's a big
$1 million.
That's a big hefty fine, and it is interesting too to see that that removing over 60 shops from carrying Steezy products didn't really affect their books. I think that's smells a little fishy to me.
You know, I mean, they do have their own shops, and they do a lot of business out of their shops.
I understand that too, bro. But you know what I mean. There's only so many stores in the state of California. And
that's true. But they have more of them than anybody. They have more of them than any one operator.
Yeah,
with 34.
And so basically, for their numbers to be staying the same, then that means that they lost over 60 stores, right? So then those
but those 60 stores
sales.
Those 60 stores are all in a very dense market of Los Angeles. That organization that was quoted is Los Angeles. So they lost Los Angeles, where there's probably increased competition, declining market share. There's places like Modesto and Stockton that are blowing up on the regulated side. And so they lost those stores in a tightly geographically concentrated area. It's not, it might not hurt you if that's not where you're, if that's not the most robust place where illegal sales are happening in California.
Mm-hmm.
I just mind my business. You know what I mean? I got this the old-fashioned way, so I just mind my business.
Fair enough. I mean, this is yeah. Oh man. Oh man. I mean, I wonder what's going to happen, because once they've paid this, and the fact that the DCC won't admit to whether or not they're under investigation, and in all fairness, I don't think the DC needs to admit to them or tell them that who they're investigating or whatnot, because that just kind of seems counterproductive, because it's just. But whatever, I do find it interesting that that Jared was unhappy about not knowing that. But I'm going to roll into this last story, unless any of you two have any more to say on any of this.
I just think it's helpful to know that it's pronounced Steezy, not Stizzy.
Yeah, I've been saying Stizzy forever, so.
Smoke flowers your friends grow.
Mm-hmm. Steezy, that's cute.
Steezy, like sleazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys. I thought when I saw this story, I was cracking up. I couldn't believe this story, and so I hope you guys get a good laugh out of this, because while Kansas says dealers must pay taxes on illegal drugs, few take them up on it. You guys, can you believe this?
Damn.
Yeah. Are we gonna run it? Yep. Yeah, you guys, this is. I can't believe that they're saying they got to pay taxes on drugs. Mathieu St. Germain, what do you think about that? Because Kansas drug dealers are required by law to pay taxes on their illegal products. But a records request reveals very little use of the drug tax stamp program, you guys. I've heard of these kinds of things before. So far this year, the Kansas Department of Revenue collected 14 drug stamps valued at $10 last year. It collected the same number of $10 drug stamps plus plus one $50 stamp. Drug tax stamps were implemented in 1987, and by statute, it requires anyone in possession of illegal drugs exceeding a certain threshold to purchase the stamps as an excise tax. It must then be affixed to whatever container the drugs are in. Well, this is in Kentucky, okay?
This is insane.
Yeah, in a quote, the fact that dealing with and possessing marijuana and controlled substances is illegal does not exempt it from taxation. Now, that's true. Therefore, drug dealers and people who possess marijuana and controlled substances are required by law to purchase drug tax stamps equal to the value of the illegal drugs in their possession, says the Kansas DOR's page on drug tax stamps. The DOR, which would be the Department of Revenue, says the stamps may be purchased anonymously at its Taxpayer Assistance Center in Topeka, and that it is prohibited from sharing information about stamp purchases with law enforcement. That sounds shady to me because you're walking into their building, but whatever. Do drug dealers actually purchase these stamps, you ask? Well, the 14 $10 stamps this year would only cover about 1.5 ounces of marijuana. The Department of Revenue didn't confirm whether multiple people purchased the stamp, and marijuana is taxed at a rate of $3.50 per gram with a minimum threshold of 1 ounce to be considered a dealer. That means a dealer would have to pay $98 to the state per ounce of marijuana, you guys.
Damn.
Yeah, right. There's no threshold for domestic marijuana plants and are taxed at 40 cents per gram for still living, in quotes, wet plants and 90 cents per gram of dried whole plants. A single marijuana plant would likely exceed the total $140 in drug stamps issued so far this year. And the $10 stamp would also only account for 1/20th of a gram in controlled substances sold by weight, which would be for such drugs as cocaine or crystal meth. And they say dealers don't use them, but it's used against them because with only a handful of purchases and at price points that put the buyer well below the needed cost for tax on a dealer level amounts of D, in a quote, it is safe to say very rarely do illegal dealers have the tax stamp, said Washburn University law professor John Francis. But if convicted for not affixing a drug tax stamp to illegal drugs, the state can fine up to double of what the stamps would have cost. Law enforcement officials previously told the Capital Journal that the financial hit is a valuable tool in deterring drug dealers from reoffending. Oh, man. The Kansas Supreme Court narrowed the law in 2013 to only apply to people who are convicted with an intent to distribute rather than a simple possession charge, and that came up earlier this month when the Kansas Appellate Court overturned a conviction for both possession and possession without a drug tax stamp in Kansas versus Jones. A key fact here is that she didn't meet the definition of dealer, Francis said, and the way the state charged Jones and the underlying evidence they find Jones' conviction arose out of the same conduct, as there was only one impulse to personally use the marijuana, you guys. This is just crazy to me. Kansas drug tax stamps. I know that they used to have tax stamps for cannabis federally and whatnot way back in the day, but this is just one big clown show in Kansas. I can't believe that this is even a real thing. And just the ridiculousness of that. If you're a drug dealer and you get arrested, it's bad enough you're going to jail, but now you're also going to get taxed with a tax levy for not buying these ridiculous stamps that they're saying are anonymous, but you know you're being filmed anytime you walk into a government building. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
How'd they get Al Capone?
I was just going to say that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, here's the thing. If you have no, we'll just speak, like everyone's ignorant and has never sold an illicit drug in their life and would never, good Christian, God-fearing people, we know you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, pay some kind of taxes. I don't care what you say it's on. Pay some kind of 1099 bullshit. Just pay something, right? Because, like, if your job is to pay as least as possible, just pay something and let them leave you alone. The government's a lot nicer to you if they're getting something out of you.
Correct.
I mean, Matthew, if you lived in Kentucky, can you imagine people just running around selling mushrooms with these little tax stamps on them?
First off, if I lived in Kentucky, I would walk, run, or fly, or swim the hell out of there back to California. But yeah, it's just like if you pay the stamp, then you put your address on it. You're de facto snitching on yourself.
Exactly.
It's not a great plan. It's just another way to hammer you even harder if you. That's all it is. Again, just for a plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's for a plant that grows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yarrow, are you with us, or have you disappeared into the Alps? He must. He's.
I'm with you guys, and I'm a little conflicted on this. You know, Capone went to jail for tax evasion, not bootlegging. So there's that to consider. That taxes and not paying taxes just opens people up for additional exposure and prosecution. And sometimes the underlying source of revenue, whether it's legal or not, is different than the obligation to pay taxes. I almost feel like the IRS could be trusted to not tell any other agency as long as they get their bread. I mean, this is a tough one.
Yeah,
it is a form of self-reporting that is not consistent with common sense.
Yeah, Yarrow, but this isn't the IRS. This is the state of Kentucky. Or Kansas, excuse me.
I'm sorry. I use IRS as just all things tax related. Fantasized Tax Board, IRS, whatever you want to call it. The tax man, and I don't even know why it needs to be a man. I mean, in this day and age of, it could be, I don't know what the tax pronouns are, but the
tax human.
Nonetheless, the tax entities seem to be so laser focused on their revenue that I do think you could almost count on them not to tell on anybody as long as they were getting their piece.
It's definitely the one thing that I really love about Trump and the Republicans is they're wanting to destroy the IRS.
Look at that. And
hey, let's build some bridges today, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I love it here.
Mm-hmm. Cute, you guys. Very, very cute. Well, I thought you guys would enjoy that. I know I enjoyed it. I could just imagine what Dorothy is saying about buying tax stamps with little Toto and whatnot.
She found out Toto's trapping.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's pretty funny.
Yes. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing.
Weed for the people.
That's right. Weed for the people. And thank you all for giving us a reason to do this every day. Thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Millie in the building. Thank you so much, Millie. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. It is America's #1 daily cannabis news show.